What if tomorrow morning you woke up, checked your phone, and saw breaking news everywhere? Yellowstone Supervolcano Erupted. No warning sirens in your neighborhood. No lava flowing down your street. Just headlines, confusion, and a sky that doesn't look quite right. Would it mean the end of the world, or is that just what movies have trained us to believe? When most of us hear the word volcano, we imagine lava pouring down the side of a mountain. It's dramatic, it's destructive, but it usually affects one region. A supervolcano is something entirely different. It's not just a bigger version of a normal eruption. It's a geological event powerful enough to impact entire continents, even the global climate. And yes, one of the most famous supervolcanoes sits beneath Yellowstone National Park in the United States. But before panic sets in, let's walk through this calmly and logically. If a supervolcano erupted tomorrow, what would actually happen? First, the eruption itself wouldn't look like what you see in disaster movies. There wouldn't necessarily be a giant cone-shaped mountain exploding in a fireball. Instead, the ground would rupture across a massive area. The explosion would send enormous amounts of ash, rock, and gas miles into the atmosphere, possibly over 20 miles high. The force would be unimaginable. Areas close to the eruption zone would face total devastation. Forests flattened, infrastructure destroyed, entire towns buried under thick volcanic ash. And here's something people often misunderstand. Lava wouldn't be the biggest problem. Ash would. Volcanic ash isn't soft, like fireplace ash. It's sharp, gritty, and heavy. Imagine tiny fragments of rock and glass raining down from the sky for hours, maybe even days. In nearby states, ash could pile up several feet thick. Roofs would collapse under the weight. Cars wouldn't run. Air filtration systems would clog. Breathing outside without protection would be dangerous. Airports across the country would shut down almost immediately because ash can destroy jet engines. Within hours, transportation would slow to a halt in affected regions. Now let's move forward a few days. The ash cloud wouldn't just stay local. Winds would carry fine particles across large portions of the country. You might be hundreds or even thousands of miles away and still see hazy skies. Power grids could struggle in some regions as ash settles on equipment. Water systems would need heavy filtration. Hospitals would treat respiratory issues, especially among vulnerable populations. There would absolutely be chaos in the short term. Supply chains would feel stress. Grocery stores might see panic buying. But this is where modern civilization plays a huge role. We have emergency systems, disaster response teams, and global communication networks that didn't exist during ancient eruptions. But here's where things get more serious and more global. The true long-term threat of a supervolcano isn't the explosion itself. It's what happens in the atmosphere. Massive amounts of sulfur dioxide would rise high into the stratosphere. There, those gases would form tiny particles that reflect sunlight away from Earth. This could cool global temperatures for months or even years. Scientists call this a volcanic winter. It wouldn't turn the planet into an ice age overnight, but average temperatures could drop noticeably. Shorter growing seasons could affect agriculture in some regions. Crop yields might decline. Food prices could rise globally. Now, does that mean human extinction? No. That's where exaggeration usually takes over. Humanity has survived ice ages, pandemics, world wars, and countless natural disasters. We now have advanced farming technology, global trade, food storage systems, and the ability to transport resources across continents quickly. There would absolutely be hardship. Some regions would suffer more than others. Economies would take a hit, but total extinction, extremely unlikely. And let's address the biggest fear directly. Is Yellowstone about to erupt? Scientists monitor Yellowstone constantly. There are thousands of sensors measuring ground movement, gas emissions, and seismic activity. Small earthquakes happen there regularly, but that's normal for geothermal areas. As of now, there is no indication that a supereruption is imminent. In fact, statistically speaking, the chances of it happening in our lifetime are very low. The media often highlights the dramatic possibility, but the scientific community remains calm and focused on data. The idea of a supervolcano scares us because it reminds us that Earth is powerful, We live on a dynamic planet. Beneath our feet, tectonic plates are constantly shifting. Magma moves slowly over thousands of years. Nature doesn't operate on human timelines, and when we think about forces that large, it's natural to feel small. But fear grows strongest when we don't understand something. When you break it down step by step, the picture becomes clearer. Yes, a supervolcano eruption would be one of the biggest natural disasters in modern history. Yes, it would disrupt global systems, but it would not erase humanity. It would challenge us, and if there's one thing humans have consistently proven, it's adaptability. So maybe the real question isn't would we survive a supervolcano? Maybe the better question is how would we adapt to it? Because history shows that when nature tests us, we struggle, we adjust, and eventually, we rebuild. And right now, the good news is simple. There's no sign that tomorrow is eruption day. The Earth is powerful, but it's also predictable in many ways. And thanks to science, we're more prepared than ever before. And honestly, that might be the most reassuring part of all.